If you are watching the replay, we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Thanks for being here and welcome to the Priority Wellness webinar. We'll get started in about one more minute. I know we have at least one person who registered who's not going to be able to make it. We might have some others joining us, but I think we'll go and get started. So welcome to the Priority Wellness webinar. I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm excited to be presenting this webinar tonight. Um, I'm Sherry Barnes, and I'm a mind-body wellness educator and coach. I'm really passionate about empowering other midlife plus women to prioritize their wellness. I think that's something that can be really challenging and something that is really important. Personally, I believe that we have both the privilege and the responsibility to make the most of the gifts that we've been given, including our bodies, our minds, and our life experiences. So, just a couple of housekeeping sorts of things. Since this is a webinar, I have us in focus. So, um, I can see who's here, but you can only, at least the way if it's working the way it's supposed to, you can only see me and what I'm sharing and not other participants. And you probably um, were given a message that we're recording. I'm going to record so that I can send the replay to people who registered who didn't make it and others who may need to see it. Um, but that's one of the reasons that we're in focus mode tonight. So I do, however, want to have it still fairly interactive. So if you have questions, please drop those into the chat at any time, and I'll try to keep an eye on that and take a look at those as they come in and answer. But once again, I'm really happy that you're here, and we'll go ahead and move on into the rest of our webinar. So in my newsletter and in my blog recently, I shared a story. I'll call it the Close the Gap story. And It was about, if you read it, you might remember, it was about a decision I made on a recent bike ride to close the gap between where my husband was and where I was during the section that, for whatever reason, um, has a tendency to get in my head and psych me out. And it's really not that a tough a section, but it does tend to get into my head. And so on this particular bike ride, uh, we were approaching it, and I was already starting in my head with, okay, here we go. And then I thought about a quote that I had seen about putting energy that we waste on all kinds of unhelpful things into taking one useful action. And so I made a split second decision that that was a great opportunity to do that, and hammered down on the pedals. And in really just a matter of seconds, by doing that, instead of allowing a gap to grow, I was able to reel him in and get on his wheel. And so um, that is a reminder of how important our mindset plus our action are, both of those things working together, because that decision that I made and then acting on it made all the difference for the rest of the bike ride. I felt victorious, I felt powerful, and I rode better and had more fun. So um, that's kind of the short version of that story, but it's the mindset and the action that I want us to focus on, and the idea that taking one useful action can really make a big difference for us. So as we go through the webinar today, this is actually a question that I posed in our yoga class for any of you who were in the yoga class this past week. But that question is, what is one useful thing that you can do today, or since it's evening, maybe you think about tomorrow, to help close the gap between where you are and where you want to be in terms of your wellness? Maybe just have that in the back of your mind. So I created Priority Wellness um, because the number one frustration that I hear and have been hearing for a while now from other midlife plus women is that they either can't, won't, or don't make their wellness a priority. And there are lots of reasons for that. You know, often it's because they feel like they don't have the time. Let's see, guess I'm kind of behind on my slides. Sorry here. Feel like they don't have the time. Um, they don't know how. Maybe they don't have the resources. Feel like it's selfish. They feel pulled in too many directions. Sometimes it's because they don't enjoy the things that they associate with self-care. So it can be a lot of different things. And if you're so inclined, whoops, I gotta go back there. If you're so inclined, um, would you drop into the chat maybe what has been your biggest challenge to prioritizing wellness? Seem to be having trouble with my getting my toolbar to show and not moving my slides. So anyway, there's always something with Zoom, but hopefully it will let me see the chat if you're putting something in there. There we go. Take just a moment and see if anybody's got some input, you know, about what your biggest challenge has been in terms of prioritizing wellness. And if not, that's okay too. You can think about it. Lots of reasons there. All right. Well, When we don't prioritize our wellness, oh, looks like I've got something in the chat. So let's see. Okay, so I see lack of motivation, knowing what I need to do, but not having the energy to follow through. I think that can be a really common one too. Yeah. Inertia is a real thing, and it takes something to get past that. And sometimes some days are harder than others to get past that inertia. So thank you for sharing that. Well, when we don't, you may have experienced some of these things. I think they're really common. And I know when I haven't done as well in some areas, I have had all of these feelings, whether that's disappointment, guilt, um, you know, wasted time can be another thing. That's not so much a feeling, but it is a potential consequence because none of us is getting any younger. Time is ticking, and we want to make the most of it. So sometimes it can cause us to be scared when we have not prioritized wellness, sometimes because real things come up, like the less favorable health outcomes, and sometimes just because it becomes a bigger and bigger mountain, the more we don't tend to it. So that's one of the things. Well, these are some of the things that I'm hoping to be able to help us overcome with the Priority Wellness Program. So after over the last several months, I have become a whole lot clearer about who I am as an entrepreneurial wellness professional and about what I'm called to contribute in this space, and I think in the bigger picture in the world. I started Pen Pedal Pose, my website, my business, originally as a way to hold on to hope um, during some of the most difficult years of my life while I was helping my son navigate struggles with mental health and substance use. And I decided that the way that I could hold on to hope, one of the most important ways, was to create meaning out of that struggle. And so, um, Pen Pedal Pose, sharing some of the most important tools that helped me survive the tough times, felt like a way to do that. Um, these really tough years with him coincided with menopause transition. So that was a nice combo, and added extra challenges that with hormonal changes and all the strange and interesting and scary and frustrating things that can come along with menopause. Um, so, tough time. And I found that, uh, a lot of the moms that I encountered going through the same thing with their kids were in the same age range and, having those same issues. But it just became crucial for me to create meaning from that struggle. So I thought originally that meant that I should go into resilience coaching for other parents of kids affected by mental health and substance use disorder, and started Pen Pedal Pose that way. As I got into it, one of the things that I've always told my students, my university students, is sometimes we have to start down a path before we decide or realize that it's not for us, or that we're supposed to take a zig or a zag in that path. And so after a process of discernment over several months, and some very real inspiration, it became clear to me that what I was supposed to share were the tools and the strategies that I used to help me prioritize my own wellness throughout my life, and especially through these really tough times. we are all, that's no news flash to you, I'm certain. Life is challenging, and we somehow have to continue to take care of ourselves to be able to function as well as we possibly can, even when it does get really tough. And even when it's not, it can still be plenty challenging. I'm grateful every single day that our family is in a much healthier place now. And um, that gratitude just shapes my days. And there are new challenges, even though they're welcome things, that still require careful prioritization to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and tending to the responsibilities that I have in life. So there's always something. And through it all, we have to be able to take care of ourselves to be our best in the world. So I get my very best inspiration on bike rides. And on a bike ride, it was actually on May 30th. I happen to know what day it was. On May 30th, um, it, very suddenly, I realized that I was getting this huge download of inspiration. Um, um, and the priority wellness path just really unfolded in my mind over the course of many miles on that ride. It was incredibly clear, and I believe that that insight and that inspiration that I received on that bike ride, um, that those were both gifts and marching orders. That, when we get gifts like that from the universe, I think we're supposed to do something with them. And so that's what I did. Um, I didn't have time immediately to put it all together, but I did immediately make all these notes in my journal so that I could organize it when I had the opportunity. So on that bike ride, so many of the tools that I have used for years in my own life, as well as in my work in both nonprofit and higher ed, working with people living with HIV, working with college students, and working with coaching clients, just flooded my mind. All these tools, like the insight telling me and this and this and this. So it was really pretty exciting, and I have continued to be really excited about this new program. Um, I understood from that inspiration that this was the way that I was meant to help other women in midlife and beyond prioritize their wellness. We all, I believe, have an idea, sometimes clearer, sometimes less so, of how we want to show up in the world. And we can really only do that when we're taking care of ourselves. So life is short, life is unpredictable, and those of us at this stage of life know that all too time is now to really start making the most of the gifts that we've been given, including our bodies and our minds. Just got a message that my internet is unstable, so I hope I'm not freezing. But we'll go on because I can't really tell. So hopefully it's not, it's an intermittent thing. Usually it doesn't become too much of a problem when I get that message. So anyway, I feel like uh, we're meant to use our gifts, including what we've been given in terms of our bodies and our minds. So Priority Wellness pulls together all my best tools uh, into a powerful combination of mindset and action lessons. So, I've pulled that from my education, from my certifications, from my experience to combine mindset and action. And when we put those two things together, there really is a powerful synergy. So this is my visual framework for the Priority Wellness Program. As I've mentioned, I'm a cyclist, and I have so many analogies of bike analogies that I apply to life because I don't know, I guess I spend a lot of time on the bike, and that I realize there's a lot of application to the things I learned there off. But I think this visual framework can really help to explain the Priority Wellness Program. Um, so as a cyclist, I envision this program as a bicycle. And the rear wheel, as you can see, is mindset. It represents mindset because the rear wheel is attached to the drivetrain. And just like a drivetrain propels the bicycle, our minds propel us and everything that we do. We can't prioritize our wellness or show up the way we want to show up in the world without having the right mindset. So I teach specific mindset tools to drive our wellness endeavors. And we'll pop back to this here in a minute, but we'll go ahead and go forward and talk about some of the more specific categories. So in Priority Wellness, we will train 6 broad categories of mindset. So clarity is the first one, and that is composed of lessons in acknowledgement and acceptance. Um, I really believe, and this was something that I learned so much, if we can't move forward, we can't make progress, we can't really know even how to start unless we are clear about where we are and we accept that. And I've written some blog posts about the difference between, acceptance and approval, and acceptance and resignation, because they're not the same thing, although I didn't always realize that. But acknowledgement and acceptance, and then vision. In order to get somewhere, we have to have an idea of where that is. And so vision is part of the clarity. Values, for some people, values are things that we think about a lot, and we're really clear on our core values. Um, that's something that is true for me, and I use them as uh, guide rails and kind of shining lights in decision making. But values and being clear about those are part of the whole mindset piece. And then identity, who we are and who we want to be in the world. So that's the clarity category. And then we'll have a category called barrier busting. And that consists, in this case, of identifying and addressing obstacles and barriers and excuses and self-sabotage. So I think most of us probably have encountered these when we have tried to either adopt a new habit or let go of a habit that we no longer want in our lives, or just to make positive changes. Sometimes there are real things that can get in the way, and so we talk about that and learn about that in Priority Wellness. Then the next category is self-belief, and that consists broadly of a couple of things, including self-efficacy, our belief about our ability to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. That's huge. And also self-worth, because we have to believe that we are worth prioritizing. And that is something that has become clearer to me, that it's one of the messages I really want to help women embrace. If you've noticed, if you take my newsletter, but I've started kind of signing off newsletters with some message around that because it's something I just want to reinforce because it's so true. All right, resourcefulness is another one, and this is pretty simply, at least state it, identifying and accessing resources. Sometimes that doesn't seem as simple as it could be, and so that's something that we'll work on in terms of mindset in the priority wellness program as well. And then language. In my last newsletter, I touched on the importance of language and mentioned that there are actually 4 lessons within priority wellness that focus on language. Language is just so huge in everything that we do, especially the way we talk to ourselves. And so these language lessons will focus around gratitude, because that can help shape everything for us and make a huge difference in how we approach life. Mindful movement, and that doesn't sound like language, but it has to do with um, our mental and emotional and spiritual state around the movement in our lives. So I do consider it a language thing. Owning our power, that is partly how we talk to ourselves and partly how we present ourselves in the world. And then reframing, when I really learned about it as a concept in grad school years and years ago, just really struck me as such a powerful tool. And in fact, years ago, I wrote an entire course about it for a company that did continuing education classes for mental health professionals, because it is such a powerful concept. So we'll work on that as well in the priority wellness program. And then the sixth category in priority wellness mindset, that rear wheel, is prioritization. And that will include things like focusing on what matters, creating a personal wellness plan. That is going to be something throughout the course that you'll be working on, um, to create something that fits in your life because that's so important. And then, especially in the group program, and I'll talk a little bit more about the differences here in a bit, but community inspiration, because I think we all have something to contribute to any group that we're in, and we can make a big difference to each other. So those are the mindset tools. And then I'm going to see if I can go back here and we'll look here again at our visual framework. And you'll see the front wheel, and that is action. Because, of course, mindset will only take us so far. Um, the front wheel is action. That front wheel on a bike, you may realize, is also where the steering happens. That's what really takes us in one direction or another, the direction we want to go, or not. If we lose control of that steering. So the actions are represented on the front wheel, and those are going to be nutrition, because in any conversation about taking care of ourselves, we need to talk about what we put into our bodies. That is so important to our health. So it's not a prescriptive thing or a proscriptive thing. It's simply conversation plus, for all of these things, some very tangible, usable tools to help you create the program that works for you. Same thing with movement, and that includes exercise. It also includes our daily habits and the movement that we incorporate into what we do each day. Mindfulness, and there'll be several different things that we touch on there. A lot of that has to do with presence and being present in our life. Presence has become what's my theme word for 2025. And it also has become one of my core values because right now really is all that we have. And being mindful of that, I think, helps us approach our lives in a much more meaningful and powerful way. So, rest is here as well. That includes sleep and it includes other forms of downtime and allowing ourselves to have rest, and then time management and stress management. So, tangible tools. Uh, Actions to take between each weekly session around these things. All right. So once again, it's the mindset plus the action that create the synergy. Um, so, my hope is that you'll be inspired to release any disappointment with past attempts at prioritizing wellness because truly it can be tough. There are real things that get in the way. Release any disappointment, any guilt, any frustration, and that may come from letting yourself down in the past or feeling like that, and hopefully feel motivated and inspired. That does priority. So we'll talk a little bit about the logistics. Here we're doing well on time. So uh, the logistics, there are both the individual program is the Priority Wellness Personalized Program. That one can start at any time. The Priority Wellness Academy actually launches today. Enrollment opens today. And both programs are 16 weeks long. You probably can tell that I've spent a lot of years in higher ed, and um, I can really make sense of a schedule kind of on an academic time frame and duration. And within these 16 weeks, whether you're in a personalized program, which is one-on-one weekly sessions with me, or in the Priority Wellness Academy, each weekly session will be approximately 90 minutes long, and we'll start with 30 minutes of yoga. And all the yoga that I do, if you haven't already heard me say this, is uh, going to be pretty gentle and um, for the most part, pretty slow and mindful because that's the style of yoga that feels most nourishing to me and that I want to share. So, 30 minutes of yoga to really help us ground and center and be ready to receive the lessons. So that we'll then move into a mindset lesson based on those 6 broad categories that I shared, and then into an action lesson. And each week there will be um, some specific actions, homework, if you will, but nothing too onerous or, hopefully it'll be fun and meaningful. But to help you to be ready for the next week and to make progress on your own plan so that by the end of the program, each woman will have what I'm calling her own personal route guide. Again, kind of a nod to cycling there. Um, and you absolutely do not need to be a cyclist or endurance athlete or consider yourself an athlete of any kind here. That's just the way my brain thinks a lot of the time around, as I said, cycling analogies. But the route guide, I think, is an apt description of what you'll come away with, because it's going to help you get from where you start to where you want to be. But essentially, it will be your own customized wellness plan. And then, let's see here. There we go. By the end of the program, the other things that you would come away with would be an increased sense of well-being, both mind and body, because they go together. Clear understanding of your power to foster your own wellness, because you do have that power. There are things that we can't change, and I don't pretend that this will fix everything. That's part of the acceptance and the acknowledgement piece. But we do have the power to take control from where we are. And so that's something that I want everyone to come away with and understand. And with that, the confidence and the knowledge and the tools that you need to make your wellness a priority. So there, as I said, will be real practical in things like movement, sleep, mindfulness, clear custom route guide to your own vision of true wellness. So the Priority Wellness Personalized Program, this is the one that includes the individual coaching with me, 16 weeks. You can start at any time, and it's $1997, $1,997 for the 16-week program. 10% of every sale will be donated to Hope Stream Community. Hope Stream Community is an amazing group of moms. It's an online group, nationally, internationally, but very private, that has been an absolute lifeline to me. Even though I continue to be involved, and I'm serving as a mentor mom now, and created a yoga class for a summer camp program. I just really believe in it. And so I want to give back, and 10% of every sale will be donated to Hope Stream Community. And, if you're interested in this program, but you would need a payment plan, you can contact me to talk about that. And then the Priority Wellness Academy that starts today. I'm particularly excited about this program because I do think that there's really something to in a group dynamic. And so enrollment, as I said, starts today, and it is open until August 15th. This cohort will begin the week of August 17th. And the introductory price for this cohort for this academy is $397. So I tried to make it really accessible. I want people to be able to do this if it feels like something that resonates with them. Once again, I'll donate 10% of every sale to Hope Stream. And with this program, I'm offering a referral special. So if you refer a friend and you both end up enrolling, you'll each receive a $50 discount. So again, contact me for info on the payment plan, or in this case, for the Wellness Academy, I will be holding up to one scholarship spot in each cohort. So you could reach out to me for a scholarship application. And there will also be, and this really is true for both, it will just probably start with the Academy. There will be an optional graduate membership that will be available for those who want to continue learning on a monthly basis and continue to have some support and accountability on making progress with that personalized wellness plan, wellness route guide. So If this is something, either one, either program that you're interested in, the next step, unless you've already had an assessment with me, would be to schedule an assessment. And I can put this link in the chat as well, but you can see the link here that would allow you to get on my schedule for an assessment. And that way we can make sure that the program's a good fit for you and confirm that whether you're looking at the personalized program or the the academy, that that's an appropriate option for you. So you can reach out to me at my email, Sherry, Sheri, just one R, at penpedalpose.com, or you can text or call me at 316-259-9728. So I know gone through quite a bit of information fairly quickly, and you probably have questions. So, other people may have the same question. Um, I will maybe stop sharing so I can better see. Yeah, there we go. My um, toolbar. Okay, it moved on me. Sorry, I have to find out where it was, but I see it now. Um, but if you do have questions, just go ahead, if you will, and type them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those. Okay, so question, what day time does the Academy meet? The way I am handling that, I am anticipating that it will probably be a fairly small cohort. That's probably best anyway, but initially it probably will be. So what I have done is on the registration link, I have um, created a Google form essentially to rank your preferred days and times in order of preference. It's telling me my internet connection is unstable again. So did that come through okay, or did I fade out? Maybe a thumbs up if you can, because I can see you. Or at least, okay, thumbs up. So you got it. Okay, so anyway, we'll rank everybody who does enroll in the academy. We'll rank their preferences. Not it's got a selection of, I think, 9 different daytime combinations, so pretty wide options. And then we'll go with the one that works hopefully for everyone. Um, and we'll be recording all of them so that replays will be available if someone does have to miss. Yes, and that was the question there. So yeah, because even if we feel like Tuesday at 6 or whatever, that's not one of the times actually, but it will work for us. Something might come up that we need to take care of. So definitely I want replays to be available, and they will be. Yeah, so good questions there. What else? Right, question. Let me open that so I can see it. Thanks for sharing. Much of this. Okay, it looks like some of that question got um, cut off, but about self-sabotage. Definitely self-sabotage will be an important part. There will be one whole lesson out of the 16 that really focuses on that, but it will be something that we address and can work through throughout the program. In fact, um, every single session will include both celebrating accomplishments and wins and things that we're feeling good about, and then some troubleshooting of challenges, because challenges will come up. And um, self-sabotage is absolutely a real thing, and it's something that I have encountered at times with certain things, and it's something that, oh my goodness, I have seen my son struggle with over the years too. And so, so I know how important it is and how big a deal it can be. And there's another question. Um, what's the deadline for registration? Registration deadline would be August 15th, and that way it will give us at least a couple days um, to make sure we know what everybody has chosen in terms of the the first, well, in terms of the meeting date and time, and I can get that out there and we can get it on everybody's calendar. So, um, August 15th is what I have decided at this point. So, yeah. Other questions? Appreciate all of those. Okay, another one. Do you touch on how to navigate the peri and menopause at all? While I am not a peri or menopause expert, I tell you what, I have done quite a bit of studying on it and quite a bit of work on it for myself because, as I mentioned, this menopause coincided, just to be real honest and frank, my last period was literally 1 month before things really started going down the tubes in terms of my son's struggle. And so it was a huge factor, the combination, they were huge. And so I have done a lot of research, reading, podcasts. I've got some great resources, and I'm definitely happy to include that in some of the troubleshooting. And it definitely plays a part in our personalized wellness programs because, uh, it does make a huge difference. I've seen it make a difference in um, everything from my cycling to my mental health. So, yeah, again, I'm not an expert on it, but I've learned a whole lot and I'm happy to share what I've learned and the resources I've found. How much time outside of class do you expect us to spend per week? Um, I wouldn't say that there is a real specific time frame because for the most part, you're going to be deciding within parameters what you are doing that week. They're mostly going to be action oriented things. So, for instance, it might be trying for in uh, a meal plan. And by meal plan, I don't mean dictated meal plan, I mean a meal plan template that I have um, that I'll offer. And it I'll include like a favorite recipe within each category, for example. And so maybe your homework is to try one recipe, or to try, what if I did use these themes for my meals for a week or something like that. Or it might be to add one type of movement in the week, and so, you have a lot of control over what you choose. It's not going to be writing a long essay or anything like that, not that kind of homework. Right. What else? Okay, well, if other questions do come up, you've got my contact info, and let me see if I can put that link for scheduling the assessment in the chat here. Get back to PowerPoint. This way to get back to that. Um, let's see. We'll grab. Oh, it's telling me my battery is running low. This I must have plugged into the one outlet in here that didn't work. So I'm glad it gave me that warning. But we move the cord. Okay, there we go. So I will put this in. If I go back to Zoom, put that in the chat. Um, and there. Can all of you see the chat? Oh, okay, good. Thank you. And yes, the question mentioned yoga, any type of other movement you plan to incorporate. And yes, in fact, there will be, you mentioned strength training. Strength training is so important for all of this. It's not going to be hardcore training specifically in the class, or that's required outside of it or anything like that. But for example, there will be a simple to incorporate into life lifestyle strength training template that I'll teach, and then we can talk about elaborations and progressions on that, because talking about for for any of us, strength training is really important. And for those of us in the peri and menopausal uh, phases of life, it's even more important for maintaining our independent living and just being able to do what we need to do. So yes, we'll definitely address strength training. We'll also talk about different types of cardiorespiratory fitness. Again, you don't need by any stretch to ride your bike as much as I do, or at all, or to identify as an athlete, but movement's good for all of us, and so it'll definitely be part of the program. Okay, so anything else right now? Well, I am so grateful that you joined me today. I really appreciate having you here. I hope that these topics resonate with you and sound like something that would be helpful to you. Um, I'm again, I'm not expecting to have an enormous first cohort, but I do hope we have a nice little group where we can all work together on these things that are so important to helping us live our best, live as well as we possibly can. And then in doing so, I really believe when we're living our best, we are also making the world better. I think everybody, when shit you're being here, and I see one more question here about how long does the assessment take, and it's about an hour. It's actually it'll be Zoom for the most part, and it is a Zoom assessment, even though some of us may live in the same area, I probably still will do Zoom, but it's really a pretty valuable coaching conversation as well, because it helps to identify your starting point with your particular most important area or areas of focus. And so I think there's a lot that can be learned in the assessment too. So, it's not something that we just whip through in 10 minutes. It's probably closer to an hour for most people. So, um, but that would be the next step if you're interested, is scheduling an assessment, and then we can go from there. But in the meantime, questions come up, do feel free to reach out to me. And once again, thank you so much for being here. Have a great evening.
Thank you.